Yes, sir. This is episode 6 of the Not Ideal Podcast. I am your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And yes, we are back from a long hiatus. I had some technical issues. I'm hoping that everything is fixed and that's a thing of the past and we can move forward with this show that I love bringing to y'all every week. It's been a while though. But the episodes should start rolling in again. Having some great guests come back on. Once I know for sure that I have these audio issues figured out. I do want to start off by saying that this show is sponsored and powered by Underdog Fantasy. Go to underdogfantasy.com or download the Underdog Fantasy app. And when you deposit up to $100, they'll match that. All right, up to $100, they're matching that. And you guys are probably thinking like, Crock, what are we depositing money for in Underdog Fantasy? Well, if you are into fantasy sports, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, if you like wagering on player props, over-unders, then this is the app for you. But just make sure when you do this, type in promo code Crocky, all right, CROCKY, and start to make you some money, man. Underdogfantasy.com or download the app right now. Use promo code Crocky. Let's go. And shout out to Underdog Fantasy, man. They're flying me out to New York. So I'll be out there next Tuesday through Friday, or I fly back on Saturday. Taking the wife with me. She's never been to New York. But Underdog Fantasy, they have a whole bunch of stuff lined up for me out there. Just a nice little business trip. Nice business. Who am I, man? Eric Crocker taking business trips. Like, you know what I'm saying? The second one. In the last few months, had one in Dallas a couple episodes ago. I was recording out there when I got to Dallas late at night. But business trips, man, like, we done come a long way. And I'm hoping that these episodes can encourage y'all to make your own way, your own path, and have business trips of your own, like, that are fun, right? Because these things are fun, man. They're taking us to Yankee games and all type of stuff. I'm still going to be wearing my Giants hat. Y'all know me. If you're watching on YouTube right now, I got the Giants hat on. I'm wearing the Giants hat out there at the Yankee Stadium. I don't care about none of that. All right. But definitely want to talk about what this episode is today. And I'll get into some topics on some other stuff and then kind of circle back around to what this show is about. But creating your own value. All right. How do you create your own value? What does it mean to create your own value? How do I create my own value? And maybe some things that I can suggest to people that, again, whether it's like the business element of things, entrepreneurship, and if I have any type of insight. This podcast is almost like a journal, and I'm just writing down everything, kind of speaking into this mic on my journey, my process, where I'm at, and where I'm trying to go, certain goals. Y'all get all this firsthand knowledge. But before we get into that, I want to give a couple shout outs. All right, one, Golden State Warriors. They just won the NBA Finals. Shout out to the Warriors. Do not listen. I know a lot of Warrior people, like the Warrior people I know, like they're cool. But man, their fans on Twitter and social media, gosh, they're a little tight, huh? Like anytime I say something like, hey man, Steph Curry kind of flopped. You don't know basketball. He ain't flop. I'm like, dude, calm down, man. Calm down. Like, oh man, they get so butthurt. So I had a little fun trolling some of their fans and whatnot. But I truly am happy for the Warriors, for Steph Curry, first and foremost. I mean, terrific player. He's had an amazing career. Where does he rank in Bay Area legends? And you got some big-time Bay Area legends, Barry Bonds, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Steve Young. Where does Steph Curry fit into that, man? He's getting up there, man. 4 championships. Can't say it's KD this time. And I love Kevin Durant, but saw Steph Curry, Finals MVP. Klay Thompson, he was very up and down throughout this time. This is supposed to be his partner, right? And Klay Thompson, I think I know what the issue is with him. He wears his headband over his ears. Anytime you wear your headband over your ears, like I know, like there's something wrong there, right? There's something not, and that's why he wasn't playing like the Klay Thompson that we know. So Klay Thompson, stop wearing your damn headband over your ears. Stop doing that. All right, but shout out to Steph Curry. Shout out to Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins balling. All right, he had a big hand in them win that championship. His defense was terrific. Shut down Jason Tatum. I mean, just strapple. Hey, what Tatum had? 13 points in the closeout game? Terrible. All right, but anyway, shout out to the Golden State Warriors, NBA champs. Another little, I guess, I don't even know if this is a shout out, but I guess something I want to kind of put out there. Drake dropped the album. It's called Honestly, Nevermind. Like, honestly, you know what? Never mind. I guess that's kind of what he had in mind when he titled it. And I'm listening to it, and I'm like, this Drake album, I don't think he made this for me. And then you look and you see it's titled, it's a dance album. So I'm like, of course. Okay, it's not a hip hop album. It's a dance album. So there are people that are going to really like it. I think he made it for a specific person, wanted to put out this specific sound. And then he came back at the end and he had the song with 21 Savage. And he's like, Crock, this one's for you. This song is for you with 21 Savage. And this slap, I probably played it like 30 times already. All right. But that's it. Aside from that, the rest of the album is not necessarily for me. It's for some people. I don't know who he made it for, but not Eric Crocker. Drake put out the album. That's for me and my people. But again, he's the greatest. Shout out to Drake. But let's talk about some real stuff. The stuff that y'all really came here to listen to. And I talked about kind of that long hiatus I took from this podcast and how I want to get back to it. And I have had some technical difficulties that kind of helped kind of push these things back a little bit. But I want to take accountability for these things. And one thing I've learned is, like, with anything that we're doing, bro, like you can figure it out, right? Like you can figure it out. There is a way. Now, whether you're just hella lazy and you don't want to figure that way out or whatever the case is, like, there are paths and avenues to where whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, you can get done. And I've learned a lot of this from 75 Hard. And I talked to some of y'all about 75 Hard, and it was something I was doing. First of all, what is 75 Hard? I'm pretty sure y'all probably asking that question. Andy Frisella. And one day I was actually driving from California to Arkansas. And I'm like, man, I want to listen to some business podcast stuff. Like, I listen to sports podcasts all the time, but I need to get this business stuff. I got a lot going on right now. I need to listen to some business stuff. And I found this, and it was kind of like this entrepreneur podcast. At the time, it was more entrepreneur. Now it's like 10% entrepreneur, 90% political. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. Like, that's cool, whatever. And sometimes I still listen to get a different perspective on things. But I originally listened to them like, I want to hear a lot of this entrepreneur stuff that you have going on. Even if it was like, okay, you got like 20% political, but 80% the entrepreneur business stuff, then okay, like cool. But it kind of gets a little overwhelming at times. But anyways, so Andy Frisella, great. I feel like when he's talking, he cusses a lot of stuff. You got to get past that. But I feel like he's talking to me. All right. Almost like the big homie, like, dude, you need to get on your stuff. Like, that's how I kind of took it. And he created this challenge called the 75 Hard Challenge. Now, there's only one version of 75 Hard. There's 5 different tasks that you have to do. 1, you got to drink a gallon of water a day, non-negotiable. In 75 Hard, it's 75 straight days. All right, you're doing something, these 5 tasks for 75 straight days. And it challenges you mentally, physically, emotionally, like all that, all right? But first thing, you got to drink a gallon of water a day. It can't be 2 ounces short. If it's 2 ounces short, even if you're on day 50 and you drink 2 ounces short of a gallon of water that day, you go all the way back to day 1. Anytime you mess up, you got to start all over from day 1. And this is something that I was doing. I was on day 16. I was actually on day 17. That's when I failed. You got to start over from day 1. All right. You have to get 2 workouts in a day. They have to be at least 45 minutes. One has to be outside, no matter the elements, rain, sleet, hail, snow, no matter the elements, one of them has to be outdoors for 45 minutes. And his reasoning for that was a lot of people make excuses for things that they're supposed to accomplish in a day, right? So he tried to create something to where you get in your mind that no matter the circumstances, I can make it through it. Now, some people be like, oh, that's stupid. I don't need that. Well, all right, then you're probably happy with where you are. Other people like me, I ain't happy with where I'm at. Like, I'm trying to like continue to keep going. And I need things like that to kind of challenge me to get my mind, because a lot of things I've done, I go back to a point where like, man, you did this, so of course you can do this. Like, that's just how my mind works. All right, and that works for me. So 2 workouts a day. One has to be 45 minutes, or they both have to be 45 minutes. One has to be outside, no matter the elements, unless you have like a tornado, like literally right outside your window. And a lot of people that listen to this, my folks in California, like, y'all don't deal with tornadoes, so y'all good. But out here in Arkansas, like, we'll get some damn tornadoes. So unless you have like a tornado right outside your window, then all right, you got to work out. All right, so 2 workouts a day. You have to stick to a diet. Find a diet. He doesn't pick the diet for you. You pick the diet. Whatever it is that you want to do, just stick to that for 75 straight days. And I think I'm getting through all of it. The other thing is you have to take a picture of yourself every day, literally every day, and just to kind of see the small changes in your body. And over time, you'll see a drastic change. So those are the 5 things you have to do. If it's anything other than that, it is not 75 hard. It is not 75 hard. And it is tasked to get you out of your comfort zone. It's to get you to do things that are more inconvenient for you. And in turn, if you can do things that are not the most convenient over 75 straight days, it changes your mindset a lot about yourself and a lot of the things that you see in other people. And I know just from 17 days of me doing it, I immediately started looking at other people different. Now, not to say I'm all high and mighty or anything like that, but just from a different light. Like I look at you, you're just making excuses for yourself. And you'll see it right away. I read his book too, so that helped as well. But I'm going to get back to 75 hard. And I say that knowing that it's like, dude, just start right now. Start right now. It's not supposed to be convenient. It's not supposed to be after you get back from vacation. It's not supposed to be after, I'm taking the kids to Disneyland. After I get back from New York, it's like I'm immediately getting ready to go to Disneyland. It's not supposed to be, convenient for after that. It's supposed to be like right now, jump in, do it. So I don't know. One of these days I'm just going to be like, F it, I'm starting. But I failed. And the reason why I failed was because of me. All right, day 17, I was doing everything right. I'm, on the road, whatever. I'm eating right. Shoot, we were recording in the studio out there in Dallas for the podcast, and we were live and everything. I had my gallon of water. I'm chugging my gallon of water. Man, they had donuts, pizza. I ain't eat none of that. I ate like a salad. And I was doing everything, waking up early, going on a 45-minute run around downtown Dallas. At night, when I get back from the studio, I'm hitting the gym in the hotel. Like I'm on it. 45 minutes in there at 1 a.m. I'm still getting it. Wake up, do it all over again. Like I was on it. And then what really threw me off, now I guess this is me making an excuse. What threw me off was we had a long day recording on Friday night, the second day of the draft, of the NFL draft. We had a long night recording, and we got done around 11 p.m., and I had to be back at the hotel, at the studio in the morning at like 8 a.m. Now, even though I get done at 11, I get home, I had to record 2 podcasts, Locked On 49ers, Locked On NFL Draft. I had to edit the podcast, post it, and do all the producing on it, and then get a 45-minute workout in after that. I think I might have got to sleep at like 3 a.m. or something like that, just to be back up at like 7 a.m. So it was like, damn, I really should have woke up at 6 a.m., still got my 45-minute run in, and then that would have kind of helped me throughout the day. But then day 3 of the NFL Draft was extremely long. We were there super early in the morning, all the way till like 8 p.m. at night. And I botched it. That was on me. So I take responsibility for that. And it's things that I'm learning, or, at least within myself, and trying to understand like where I went wrong, where I went right, whatever, and trying to fix it and whatnot. And I have to get these things done because I got a gym about to open up. All right. So I'm going to give you all a quick update on my gym before we get into, creating your own value and all that. But as you know, I have Frontline Sports Performance about to pop up. And we're getting down to nitty gritty of things. I actually just ordered a lot of my equipment that I need a couple weeks ago. I just got the date. It comes in on the 21st, which is in 3 days, when I'll actually be traveling to New York on that day for Underdog Fantasy. But they're delivering a lot of my equipment. We're hitting the ground here. Just last week, we met with the engineer, we met with the electrician, met with the guy that's doing all the construction work or whatever. He's building the offices and all that. Cool stuff about to happen too. It's like you walk in, got these glass double doors, and then it's like the lobby area is kind of like walled off, and then the kids got to go this way. They open the door and it goes out to the field and to the whole gym and everything. Dope. Turf is already here. Turf is dropped off. All right, but it takes them out to the field, and then the parents go the other way. They go up the stairs in the lobby, and they were able to see through these big plexiglass windows the entire field, and they can see their kids working out and training. Listen, this thing's gonna be dope. I'm gonna have a grand opening and all that good stuff to invite all my folks out from California or wherever y'all at. I want everybody to come. I want it to be a celebration. So I'll try to, even though I'll be training already, I'll try to push out the grand opening to where people, if they want to come, they can kind of plan and whatnot. So that's going to be very, very, very exciting. But aside from that, I've learned one thing for sure so far. I've learned plenty of things, but one key thing. There is a huge difference, or something I noticed. I've noticed something different. There is a huge difference between being an entrepreneur, which I've been over the last year and a half, and owning a business or running a business. Like, being an entrepreneur, I'm responsible for myself, right? So over the last year, I don't have a set time or schedule for anything. Now I need to like set my own stuff, right? But there's nobody that sets that for me, which we're used to that as athletes, right? Like being an athlete, you know, the coaches and your team, whatever, like they tell you where to be, when to be there, what days, when's your break times, all that, right? Like your whole itinerary is laid out for you. And when you're somebody like me who played high school football, college football, arena league football, NFL football, like for years, I was really told when and where to be. Now, when you have your own business, they don't tell you that. Now, that's also part of entrepreneurship. But here's the thing with a business. You have other people starting to count on you now. I have to hire somebody. I got to hire somebody for the front desk. Me. All right. I have to sit down, talk with them. These are my expectations. And I have to get in my head, damn, am I going to have to fire somebody? Like, you know, like that's tough. Right. So I've learned right away, like I have to be on top of these things. Everything that's being ordered, everything that's being brought in, talking to electricians. Hey, here are my plans. This is why I want this here. Okay, this is why I want this over here. Okay, the electrician and the engineer got to be on the same page with this and that. And, you know, obviously I have someone helping me go through all this. Shout out to Mr. Smith. But it's tough because it's like, oh, well, I got to make this phone call for this. And then, okay, I need to add this to the construction loan. Okay, how do I do that? Okay, I got to call Rogue and I need to order this. But then, I mean, there's a lot, right? And I'm not used to that. I'm used to just worrying about myself and, okay, I want to record the Not Ideal podcast or, oh, okay, Locked On 49ers. Hey, what time you want to record? Okay, cool, right? Entrepreneur, much different. All that means is I just don't have a set income. And I guess with owning a business and a gym, I still am an entrepreneur, but there's still a difference from being just an entrepreneur and kind of being a freelance contractor, whatever you want to call it, as opposed to like you are in charge of people's paychecks. You got to get your taxes in order. I got to spend more money on stuff because of for tax purposes and write-offs and things like that. And I mean, these are things that I'm like, man, I ain't know nothing about. Who's supposed to tell me? And that's part of the reason why I have this gym, because a big emphasis on it is mentorship and getting these kids to learn and understand things that I don't know. Hell, there's going to be a lot of things that I'm learning from it as well. I want to have guest speakers come in here all the time for these kids, for them to get to hear the word from people that have been there and done it in different walks of life, whether it's a policeman, professional athlete, a lawyer, somebody, an accountant, whatever it is. I want them to come through here and talk to these kids about the profession. How do you do it? You know, what it took to get there, the ups and downs of it. And these kids in this area, Southeast Arkansas, and I'm about 45 minutes from Louisiana, 45 minutes from Mississippi, you know, and obviously I'm down here in the corner of Arkansas, but these kids in this area, they ain't gonna have no excuses because I'm gonna put all the resources out there for them. And that ain't gonna cost them anything. Man, come, it's Saturday, come, I got this person coming to talk. All right, so I'm really excited about that, but I'm probably gonna learn just as much as these kids on some of this stuff that I had no idea about, kind of going through a lot of this process, because who taught us? Where do you learn it? Maybe school, but I don't know. High school didn't teach us that. I mean, math, history, stuff like that. You go to college, and then obviously you can, you know, pick your major, your minor, and all those type of things. But maybe I need to go take business classes. Maybe that's what I'll do and I'll learn. But I don't know, man. I'm starting to not think differently about school, because there's definitely like the purpose for it. I want my kids like go graduate college, all that good stuff. But I am learning you don't want 100% either, because I make a good salary right now, or not even salary, but wages and things like that. It's like, man, I ain't graduated from college just yet. All right, I still want to though, because I told my grandma I was going to do it. But anyways, the gym is up. The structure's all up. The structure's done, and everything's really popping off over the next few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if the gym is finished in a month. I'd give it 6 weeks. 6 weeks max, gym's going to be done. 6 weeks max. And if y'all listening to this and you guys are interested in potentially coming or supporting it somehow, you want to donations and things like that, hey, man, let's go. All right, I'll put your name on something. But I think I want to set up a grand opening for September 1st. Or in that area, whenever that like started that week is, or maybe a Friday, I'll do like a grand opening so we can like really party or whatever. It's going to be around September 1st. All right, so be on the lookout for all that. But today's episode is more so about creating value. All right, and I'm listening to this podcast. It's called Mind Pump. I listen to it a lot. It's this kind of fitness podcast where there's a few guys on there, and they've been, personal trainers and all that for years. And it's great stuff. I mean, from the mental standpoint of it, great stuff. I've learned a ton. Like, I'm about to go get my level 1 CrossFit certifications, and not so much to do CrossFit out of my gym, but just to really learn the true proper way of lifting. And CrossFit definitely teaches you the right way. Now, whether that gets lost and, obviously they have all these injuries and things like that, that's another thing. But I do want to learn, like, just the proper way to lift. And over a weekend and going through that, that's one of the better ways you could do it. Obviously, I can go back to take a class at university. You can do all these other things. But in the sense of getting certified in 2 days and really learning a lot, the basics of lifting and form and all that, I'm going to get my L1s. But anyways, I listen to these guys because I learn a lot as well. And they said one thing, and I thought it was very key. They started talking about creating your value. And I'm like, okay. And I'm on a jog. I'm on a couple mile jog, and I'm just listening. And they're talking about it. And it's crazy because some of these things that people talk about, I do or did without even knowing. And this is one of them. So creating your value. How do you create your value? And then what can kind of come from that? What they were saying was, for trainers, creating your value is kind of just showing your worth. And how do you show your worth? Now, there are some people that want to get into things and they start off and it's just like they have in their minds like this set dollar amount. And it's like, oh, I want to make this much money and do this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe that'll work. Maybe. But maybe not. And I'm not going to knock any way that anyone else has done things or built their businesses or companies and whatnot. But if maybe it isn't taking off the way that you would like over time, right? Because, nothing is just like overnight. But maybe you should kind of maybe change your approach a little bit. So I'll talk to you a little bit about my approach, because that's what this is about, right? Like my journey, my journal, all that type of stuff. I would do a lot of things for free starting off. And in my head, it was just, I have to start from somewhere. I have to start from somewhere. And eventually, if I prove my value, the money will come. So I've done this in 2 walks of life now that are essentially separate, but now they're kind of coming together because these are both things I do. So I'll talk you through both of the things I'm doing right now and how I created my own value. Let's start with podcasting. I'm talking to you on the mic right now, and how I got into podcasting and started generating money. Originally, I developed myself into this specialist, a wide receiver, defensive back specialist on social media. How did I do that? Man, I would spend countless hours breaking down film, cutting it up, posting clips, talking through those clips, and giving my expertise, right? And eventually, over time, and I'm doing this for a couple years. I'm not getting paid for it, and it's taking a lot of extra time. But people started to notice me for that. Like, he is a specialist at that. My platform started growing on Twitter. I started off, around this time when I started doing this. I mean, I maybe had 2,500 followers, 2,500. Well, now I got 40,000, right? So it started off with that, and I just kept pushing it. People started inviting me on their podcast. People started, asking me to do radio hits. And I'm getting these calls and, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And it's like, yeah. And I'm doing anything and everything. My wife is like, man, why are you doing this for free? And I'm like, man, like, something's going to come from it. I have to kind of create my value. Essentially, that's what I was doing without knowing it. But I know there's somebody that's going to come and pay me a Bleacher Report. Someone's going to say, you know what? This dude knows what he's talking about when it comes to football. Hell, maybe he might be coaching, which that opportunity arose, not so much coaching, but being a scout. The Atlanta Falcons came hollering at me, hey, we want you to apply for this entry-level scouting position, right? So I, put in my resume and everything for that. But all these different things came from just kind of putting myself out there. And it was hours and hours of work of cutting things up, posting these clips, articulating it in a way that everyone can understand. And eventually it led to a podcast. And okay, I'm making a certain amount of dollars on that podcast. Cool. Okay, then it led to, hey, why don't you come on this podcast? Damn, that's way more money. Okay, let me do that. Then that turned into another podcast on the same network. And then people started coming to me and start paying me for all kind of other random things. One episode a week on this. I don't even want to say because I'm going to be a little bit more specific here. So I don't want to say what podcast it was. But there was one podcast where they're like, hey, you come on once a week, pay you X amount of dollars. And this is how many episodes we're going to do, and we'll pay you out. All right, cool. We did it. Now, if they want to come back to me because I have created my value, well, I'm going to need more money than what y'all paid me before. And they can either agree, and they're like, cool, or they be like, nah, we don't want to do that. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm cool too. My number has gone up. I created my value. Another company, I talk about Underdog Fantasy and what I do to them and how they approach me. That's awesome. That partnership, I'm loving it. I got all kind of stuff right here in this bag. If you're on YouTube, you can see. Look at this. Underdog Fantasy stuff right here. Still packaged up. Maybe I'll do a giveaway. But, Underdog Fantasy and how I created my value, they came calling, hey, we want a partnership in such and such way. And, I'm one of the initial people of the incubator thing that they have going on right now. And that's why I'm going out to New York. So, again, creating my value. There was some other people, they're like, look, man, we'll pay you and I'm not working with these people right now, so I guess I can kind of throw out some numbers or whatever, and they're probably not listening to this podcast, but they're like, listen, we'll pay you $300 per video that you do for us. We need videos that are like 5 to 10 minutes where you're doing these little breakdowns and throwing some wager type stuff on there. Cool, got it. Oh, and by the way, we want you to do 2 of those videos a week. And can you do one podcast on the Friday? Hell yeah. Okay, we'll pay you $100 for the podcast too. So we're talking about $700 a week for something that took me, that I literally worked less than or around an hour total, maybe. All right. So, now again, I'm creating and that's just one thing. That has nothing to do with my podcast stuff. That has nothing to do with, that's just an independent company coming to me and I'm offering some services. But again, I created my value. And it all started with not getting paid to do it. It all started with putting myself out there. It all started with going on any and every podcast that would come in my DMs. Hey, can you come on our podcast? Sure. Hey, I don't know who the hell you are, but yeah, sure. Sure. Can you come on my podcast? Yes. Hey, can you do this radio hit for this Denver radio station? Yes. This North Carolina station? Yes. This Bay Area station? Yes. No matter, I'm there. And essentially over time, it started going from that to I started getting some higher end people and them saying, hey, I reached out to this guy that's the director over this. And I asked him, hey, who should I get on here to talk DBs after the draft? And he said, Eric Crocker. What? That's creating your value. So this is not me stunting either, by the way. I'm just talking in the sense of using my personal experiences that hopefully it helps you or just truly kind of grasp it and get a full picture of what it is that I'm talking about here and how I kind of did it and went about it. All right. So just relentless work ethic and really putting myself out there, not knowing what's going to come. Now, same thing from the training aspect. I trained athletes for years in Stockton, California. Shout out to my guy, Vince Carter, Elevate 209. Let's go. All right. But I trained a ton out of CrossFit 209 sport. But when I was moving to Arkansas, who the hell is Eric Crocker? So it's like, okay, before I even get out here, I start planting the seeds. It's crazy because I start thinking about this stuff. I'm like, man, who told me to do this? Who taught me to do this? Nobody, but I'm just going to figure it out. All right, so I DM a couple people on Twitter, a couple of athletes in this area. I found out, okay, Monticello, okay, look at their roster. Okay, let me DM this kid. Hey, man, former athlete myself, played football, yada, yada, yada. I train the athletes. Here's some of the stuff I do. Why don't you train with me? I'll get out there. I'll work with you. He's like, yeah, man, can my brother come? Yeah, of course. Next thing you know, it wasn't just him. It was his brother. By the time I got out there. Now, listen, I'm planting these seeds before I even get to Arkansas. I get the 2 kids starting off. Then next thing you know, it's 5, 10 kids, 11 kids out there that I'm training. Whatever. I'm not making no money. I don't care. I have to create my value. All right, so I'm going to work. I'm going to create my value. Next thing you know, that turns into a parent. Shout out to him. And how much he's helped me throughout this entire process. But then, okay, got this gym. Okay, let me train these athletes. It's starting to blow up. Then that turns into the big gym. For those first few months, when I was taking my time out of my day and training these kids and not really making money, a couple parents broke me off. A couple parents were like, man, here anyways. I know you're not charging them, but here anyway. So shout out to them. Shout out to Mr. Wells and them. And I was paying for the cameraman. Come out here so it can look cool. Kids get the pictures and all that. Oh, yeah, just make sure you tag me. All that stuff. You got to self-market a little bit. And that turned into this gym that is going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. But it all started with planting the seeds and creating my own value. So I guess what I'm saying is I challenge y'all to create your own value. Don't think of things in terms of the money right now. The money will come. And then eventually your goals of the money that you want to make can become loftier and loftier, right? So I'm not saying, obviously we want to make money. We want to. That will come. But as long as you create your value and the money is going to be all right, it's going to come in. Then you start turning certain things down. I talked about earlier, hey man, I'd go on any and every podcast. Not anymore. And not because I want to charge people and stuff like that, but it just kind of has to be a little bit more beneficial to me. I get tons and tons and tons of DMs and requests for people to, DMs and whatnot. But, they want me to come on podcasts, et cetera, whatever. And that's cool. And if I can, if I have the time, I just have downtime, all right. But I have a lot going on. So I don't go on as many as I used to unless I really believe that it'll help me in a sense of continuing to create my value. So all that stuff is awesome. The training stuff is taking off, man. And I got some Division I guys. I got a kid now at Vanderbilt. He went to UConn. Shout out to my guy, Jeremy. And another kid, they flew from the East Coast to Arkansas to train with me. Pops was like, man, how much you charging? I said, man, don't worry about it. It's like, man, you sure? Don't worry about it. Next thing I know, his pops, man, hits me with a donation for the gym. It helps me with my equipment. He's like, man, you always showed us love. You always took care of my son. You teach him things that are invaluable. Here's some money to go towards your gym, the equipment. And, it just shows, create your value. People will see it. People want to help. They see that passion and they see that realness. They're going to want to look out. Shout out to everybody that's helped me along the way. I say a lot of these things in the decisions I make. I'd say I give me the credit for kind of putting myself in those positions. But shout out to the people that helped me and gave me that extra nudge along the way that truly helped me get over the top with a lot of different things I'm doing. So there are a lot of different people that I definitely can thank for that. But I think most importantly, man, thank you too. All y'all that listen to either the Not Ideal podcast, the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show podcast, which will be back. The San Francisco 49ers Morning Show podcast will be back come training camp. All right, I get hit a lot. Crock, where's the morning show? Where's the morning show? Training camp. And not just training camp. I got a lot of stuff I'm doing with the 49ers. I'm going to every road game this year except for Mexico. Can't get my passport. But I'm going to every road game, and I'm going to try some fun stuff here. One, I'm going to Like, I got to eat at a place where everybody recommends. Like, so the first game is for the 49ers in Chicago. So the place where everybody's like, hey, if you go to Chicago, you got to eat here. I'm going to eat there, and I'm going to give my review on it, and I'm creating all the content and all that stuff. I'm going to a place that's like this historic landmark in that city. So like whether it's Chicago or week 3, 49ers play Denver Broncos. All right, so I'm going to be in Denver, and they're like, hey, you got to go here. You got to see this when you're in Denver. I'm going there. I'm going to have this nice little tailgating experience and all that stuff. So creating content, man, it's up in here. And not just me. Got my guy, Chris. Shout out to my guy, Chris, a.k.a. Roscoe's. He helps me with a ton of the things that kind of comes up. And he's on me. He's on me about the Not Ideal podcast not being uploaded as of late. He's on me, about my morning show. He's helping me, hey, this is what content you should put out there. So shout out to my guy, Chris. He helps me a ton. I think everybody needs a Chris in their life who just wants to see you win. Chris ain't never wanted anything from me, but he's always looking out for me. So shout out to my dog, Chris. Hell, he made this overlay. Matter of fact, I'm going to do something for Chris. If you need any like artwork done, graphics, graphic designing, he has this whole package he's doing right now where, he'll help you brand yourself. So if you want that, hit my dog Chris. I'll try to, at his Twitter or just hit me how to find him. I need to get his stuff out there right now. Hold on, because this is too big of an opportunity right now. But here we go. I think it's Mr. Roscoe's. Here we go. Roscoe's Mr. So on Twitter at Roscoe's Mr. So ROSCOES Mr. And that's MR. That's his Twitter account. Go DM him, find him. He has a package. If you're into that need that branding and all that stuff, my guy, that's who to go to. So shout out to my dog Chris. But that's gonna do it for this episode. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in, listen. 5-star review on Apple, Spotify. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like. If you don't want to get involved in any of that stuff, but you just enjoy listening, I love you too. Appreciate all y'all. I'll see y'all next week after I get back from New York with the wife. Until then, I'm out. Peace.